Hey, everybody. We're so excited. It's 2025 and we're kicking off our Dance Diaries podcast.
We were talking about what our goals were, and our hopes and wishes and dreams were for the coming year. And mine was that I wanted to have all 5 of my open routines. That took about a year or more. I had my 3, rumba, cha-cha, swing. And then to complete the 5 is bolero and mambo. Had the dances choreographed and then started to practice and make changes and things like that, at a competition for the first time in a long, in a while, and show up with 2 brand new open routines was pretty nerve-wracking.
How long did you practice those last 2, like the last 2 opens?
A few months. I'm going to say 3 or 4 months.
Right.
And they're still not perfect. But this time I did coach myself a lot. And I appeared in certain situations, I think, to be confident in what I was doing, even though I was shaking in my shoes. And then there are other situations that I just lost it. And the only thing that I can attribute it to is fear, anxiety, and doubt, which creates this nervous energy. And that's where we have to try to manage that nervous energy. So for the most part, I feel like I did, but then I fell apart. It's
but
human
that you
nature.
felt. But listen, I watched you dance. You didn't fall apart. All I thought about is, thank God you got back on the floor. The fact that you got out on the floor, I was just like, okay, let's see how she's going to do, because I haven't seen you compete in a really long time. So
thank you so much for your support. We talked earlier also in a previous podcast about our tribe. Right.
Oh my God.
And you guys were you especially and Deb, who is part of my tribe, was so there and for the support. And I really do appreciate it. What helped me out a little bit this time is sometimes they'll start right away with your opens. When you look at your heat sheet, you have 3 or 4 opens right away, starting from the very first heat.
Well, you know what I laughed at? Your first open heat was a mambo.
That's
Could
the
you
one
die? I know.
I was dying. Could you die? I know. Could you die? Seriously, right?
Yeah.
But at least it wasn't the first heat. So when I got out and did the closed rounds, I felt pretty comfortable, except my bolero was off a little bit, but I felt pretty comfortable in the closed rounds. The cha-cha started off really good, I felt like. So I eased my nerves a little bit when it came to the opens, but you're right, they start the mambo.
I said of all things, but you know what? I've seen your mambo in the your studio parties, right? So I'm like, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for that one. I love the music and I want to make sure that let's see how you perform this thing. But being the first one out of the gate, mambo is like a hard one to go at first, right?
All of my bad habits came out in the mambo.
Bad habits, how though? Like,
describe when in the dance we are facing each other, shoulders up, head down. Oh yeah, 100%. Right. A couple of months ago, you did the same thing. You had the same experience as me, and
but I didn't go with a tribe. My tribe, the tribe, as in there were people that were at the studio. Thank God. In hindsight, I would never get up again at like 4 a.m, drive somewhere for an hour and a half.
Yeah, tell me about that experience.
It's the anxiety part of the fear, anxiety, doubt.
Yeah,
like that added an element of what to plan for on a very, very early schedule.
Yeah.
That part
Why
hit the
did that
anxiety
happen
scale.
that way?
Because I'm on limited time and a limited budget, girl. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to stay at the hotel.
Yeah.
I am going to get up the next morning. I've got a hair appointment that's super early. I will dance that day. And I was out of there by 4 p.m.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
I mean,
that's
seriously.
Zero chance
right?
I would ever do that.
No, but in the past,
the experience too.
I know, but in the past, and I think I was more, it made for a more relaxing event is when I did go for a couple of days. I would get a hotel. I would go with people. There was time to relax, even though the schedule was still like early in the morning to get hair and makeup and all that done.
Yeah.
I had at least a hotel room to return to.
Yes.
I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I will talk about that on my checklist, and I have done it for every other comp, with the exception of the first one I've returned to after a year of not being on the competition floor. Was not worth it. So if I were to cross off something that triggers my anxiety, I would go back and change that for sure.
Yeah.
Now, how does that affect my dancing? It means I have no place to get myself organized. But
Right.
okay, if I go back to like the dancing though, and then I really want to hear more about you being back on the floor. That day I was so happy to do my single heats, but it was no sooner there and done because all I did was 8 single heats. If I think of who I competed against, there were some top typical students that you would see in my category. I do open gold Latin, and in my category, I think it was a C category. So
those ladies are fierce,
like fierce competitors. So, and it's funny. So the fear part of the fear, anxiety, doubt, I was not fearful to compete against them. I was aware that they were there, but I just went out and did my thing. But the anxiety about the day, about just the general, I needed to make sure I was warming up. Where's all my stuff? You know what I mean? That's what I mean. Like it's, and then the doubt part, maybe when you see them, you're like, should I be here yet? But I get over that really quick. After I do my warm-ups, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Dang, like what the hell? What am I waiting for?
Yeah.
Of course I want to be here.
My fear and my anxiety and my doubt it just comes from myself. Can I perform the way I do in the studio when we're by ourselves? Can I pull it off?
So what is the difference between what you experience and feel in a studio versus when you get out on the dance floor?
First of all, much more relaxed. Eyes are on you when you're at a competition, whether it be by the judges, whether it be by your studio peers, your studio owner, your instructor, your friends, your other people who know you. How many judges know you who have coached it, and they want to see is Kim on the couch eating bonbons all day, or is she working on her dance? Right?
Real. Come on.
So now we're in the studio, and I'm usually there by myself. So I'm also not navigating other people. Not that it's my real job to navigate, but when you're now doing syncopated side by side, you have to navigate at least yourself, right?
Of course, I'm terrible because I'll look over on the side with my eyeball, like as if to be cued.
Yes.
That's my one downfall. Like I've got to get over that. But oh my God.
Yeah. So when you're in a studio, I never get lost because then I have to go there, and then I have to go there, and then there's my partner. He's there waiting for me. Now you go to the competition floor with a sea of other couples, and there's no real, where are my corners? We have to figure out how to work on because I got lost. I got lost.
You got lost.
I mean,
can you walk me through what goes through your head? Because that's probably like a split second. But it feels like 300 years when you like completely lose yourself on the dance floor. What went through your head?
Oh, shit.
Shit is right.
Like, oh, shit. I did it again. What goes through my head. Everyone just saw that. That's what I'm thinking in my head. And then I immediately kind of pull myself back that I'm in this moment and I have to recover from this somehow. And
were you ever taught tricks on how to recover when that happens?
No, do tell.
I was told just put your feet side by side, just get with the beat again until your instructor can come back to you rather than thinking, oh, I've got to continue with the choreography or something. If you get lost like that, they should notice that you have lost yourself and just sort of move to the beat of the music a little bit. Depends. Listen, I don't know if you're going to do that with ballroom. I'm just saying, there's something that you could do there that together you agree. If you were to lose yourself, what would be that indicator to your partner that you're lost in order for you to start again? Well, of course he knew because you weren't there. What the frick? I'm just like,
see, the thing with my cha-cha, I was always in sight, so he didn't lose me. I just went in the wrong direction. I went this way when I should have gone that way. Like I went in the wrong direction, but it was a split. It was quick enough, and we reconnected, and then I recovered.
I blacked out. Like I went completely. The frickin' room went black. I saw nothing. I was in a blank zone, and I didn't even know what my routine was. It went it was.
When did that happen? This past time?
No, years ago.
That
so
happened.
Can I tell you though? It was at Manhattan Dance Sport. And so when I returned to Manhattan Dance Sport for my first time to be back on the floor last year, that was my first return. And it's like it was almost like I was trying to do the recreation of time because I felt like I frigged up at that comp.
Yeah.
And I danced so much better, but it was like me trying to recreate a time in history. Yeah. It's the worst. So talk about if we go back to fear, anxiety, doubt. So that to me, that turns the fear part factor. So that's not anxiety there. That's complete fear because you're in like, whoa, what's going to happen to me now?
And you want to know something?
Am I going to fall down? I mean, there's all things that go through your head.
But none of that even went through my head.
My God.
Nothing. It
Why, 'cause it's blank?
I just went blank, like blank. But when we finished and we came off the dance floor, I said to Arsene, I don't know. I don't even know what happened. He goes, I do. I said, what? He goes, you had an anxiety attack.
I want to know if this fulfilled for you what you thought it was going to fulfill by being back and doing your 5 opens and the time you spent leading up to that. Did you find that fulfilling? And if so, like what about it is that reward or something you took away from this comp that you are now going to apply this year for your goals?
Great question. So let's talk about, do I feel fulfilled? So after the competition, Arsene asked me, no, basically he said, you should be happy with
it's a nice compliment.
And I said to him the way I answered, or maybe he asked me, he might've asked me, are you happy?
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at him and I said, are you happy with how I performed?
But did you answer it first?
No, I did not answer it first.
Validation. Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
Because before I saw him before I saw him after the competition, of course, then I see my videos maybe 6, 7, 8, 10 hours later. And now all I'm looking at is every time I messed up. So then I cry for 24 hours or 36 hours, sometimes 48, sometimes longer.
48.
48. And then when Arsene asked me that, and I said to him, "Are you happy?" And he said, "Absolutely. I'm very proud." And I started to say, "Okay," started to feel better. Okay. I answered that question. I said, "I'll answer that question. I am happy because I challenged myself. That's a big undertaking. And I had a goal and I fulfilled that goal. So I feel very, very satisfied that I did that. Now, in terms of my performing and my performance, there were so many things I did much better than I have done in the past. And then there are other things where I said before, I brought all of my old habits onto the competition floor. So it's a mixture of that. The great thing is that you guys took great video, and that's going to help us a lot because I have some video from different angles. So in one video, I didn't see that. In the other video, oh my God, so that's going to help a lot. And it's just improvement from here. It's just improvement.
The order in which that validation comes is kind of funny because we've interviewed some people where the validation is immediate. And I remember when I went on the floor last year, my first return back to a competition, I don't know if I wasn't hearing it, but I do believe Giovanni said, you really did a great job. Like, I think he was able to see either the results, something I don't look at, by the way. He looked at my placements and he reminded me, here's the validation. He reminded me whom I was competing against, meaning, of course, he would see these competitors at other events. And he says, and by the way, this is how you performed against those competitors. He validated the complexity or the competitive landscape by which I, result. That was good. And then when I got back to the studio, he even more amplified that fact. So I thought that was good validation.
Yes.
I don't normally go seeking that. And I think my instructors know that about me. I'm out there, but maybe that's the wall I put up because I don't want to think about that stuff. So I just simply go for the joy of dance. I love that you got that from Arsene.
Of course, he pointed out the places where,
well, of course, yeah,
I did where I did well.
Okay.
Like your presentation or whatever he felt I was strong in, which made me feel good because that means he noticed, as an instructor and the hard work that we put in. I want to, make sure that I'm being an example of our hard work and, his hard work as well as,
Oh, you both like rocked it. Like you really killed it. On fire, your look, your feel. I was just really happy with your choreography. I love that you recovered from some of the stuff that I noticed. You put a smile on your face. And not only that, you lifted your chin up. I don't know if you noticed you do that. You lifted it up and you're like, it's okay. and that was when, in those moments, you were the most connected with Arsène of any times of the dance, like meaning the most connected, because you reconnected with his eyes to almost get in, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. And he would say, I'm glad you're okay. One of like a look in your eyes.
Yeah.
And you keep on, kept on
that's
going.
thank you for that, for noticing, because that is one of the things that I clearly did much, much better than in the past. So in the past, when I mess up, forget it. My emotions are all over my face, my body, bleeds into my next dances, all that stuff. The judges see it, the audience feels it. And I did a lot of work on that, on the presentation and on, I think even in, I forget which dance it was where I did mess up. At the end, I took a bow and I stood there with the audience like, I'm just the greatest thing in the world. I wasn't, because I think that was one of the ones that I messed up. But I think that that's part of the growth. Yeah. I'm happy that I was able to manage those emotions.
I want to know though, on the emotions part, because you mentioned crying for, and it's very normal, by the way, crying for 24, 48, 72 hours. You cried the other night, just kind of like thinking back on it. So I want to know what causes for that emotional, what consumes you emotionally when these things happen. I wonder if you could share that with the audience, because I'm sure lots of other people behind closed doors go through that too. Yeah.
Yes. So I did some research. So the other night when we were, I was getting teary when we were on the call, is different from when I come back from a competition. And those tears, it doesn't matter how I've performed. It doesn't matter if I took first place or seventh place, you know what I mean? Or if I, it has mostly to do with the adrenaline, that, because leading up, think about it. Thinking about those days or even the week, right before competition, we're gearing up. Those are internal hormones, and it gets stored. So day after day, whether it's a week or whatever, it's the adrenaline is getting stored and getting stored and getting stored. Now we go out onto the floor and we literally put our heart and souls into what we're doing. So it's this crash after. So that's different. It's not even that I'm thinking about how I performed or how I messed up or how I placed that's causing those tears of emotion. It is a biological thing. Tapping into the feeling of the conversation, that will bring an emotion or tears to me, is all those things we were talking about the other night about coming back after some time. The feelings of now, since I'm beyond the adrenaline flush,
right
now real emotions come up. Could I have performed better? Why did I do that? Why didn't I do that? I knew I should have. And that then brings, darn it. Like, so.
Yeah, that's, well, I mean, you're no different. I guess when I watch the videos on the playback, because I'm a performer, or at least I want to be a performer.
Yeah.
If I watch myself on the video seemingly not performing the way that I had visualized in my head or thought that I was doing it, that's always troubling to me after a competition. It's not so much about messing up, it's about the way I'm performing it and how that visually is appealing to the audience, or how that, like, it's perceived different than, I know footwork is footwork. If I messed up footwork, I can pragmatically think about the fact that, okay, well, I'm going to have to go back and fix my footwork. But because I put so much emphasis on whether or not I have performed the dances to my satisfaction, my high expectations, that would bother me if I didn't do that well. And that would probably have my emotions come out. And I would say when I was at the Manhattan Dance Sport, I watched them, but for the most part, I was fairly content with the performance. But I told you at that one, I I made a mistake with the costuming again. Costuming is part of performance.
Oh yeah.
So what I might have wanted to portray may not have come across well because of a poor choice of costuming. Because the costuming, is part of the presentation, how your body moves,
right?
What people are distracted by or attracted to.
So for you, that competition, you had lots going on.
Oh yeah,
you had the just the anxiety of the travel and not having a place to organize and settle.
The settling part bothered me. Yeah. I mean, I'm organized with my crap, but it's not. There wasn't a place to settle.
Yeah. And then the costuming, but you went out there and you did a great job anyway.
It. I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew the minute I put it on, and I had to ask, what is it, Bobby? What's that guy with the tanning?
Bobby Tan.
Bobby Tan. I mean, bless Bobby Tan. I bought some products. I asked him to help me to put because that was the other thing. No tribe, no help with Body Tan.
And we had this conversation about having a tribe.
I know, but that day at 5 friggin' a.m. Who the hell's your tribe putting on Body Tan?
And I was somewhere, right? I was traveling or something.
Yeah, you were not around. You were, you had another commitment that day. But and it's not that I'm saying that. I'm just like, it occurred to me that had I just gone with my original choice of costuming, like the frickin' tanner wouldn't have been like an issue. How long does it take when you finish the comp? Because it finished, mid-afternoon. You had a chance to be with us like socially, which was really fun.
That was amazing. That was the best part.
To me, that's a great part about like the wind down. At least you just don't go home and go, I just competed like I did. Well, I competed and I had to make dinner at 5 o'clock. Like, God. I mean, for the love of Christmas, like I'm like, that an event should be something you like just get a little more out of it than just 4 heats,
This one was particularly fun because typically I'm dancing up until the hour before cocktail hour and everybody's running for the elevators. Everybody's smushed in like sardines, rushing to get to their room. In the shower, I'm like, brushing my teeth as I'm walking out the door and all that. And there's no real, girl time to have these conversations. But this was so great. We had like, how long? 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half to just chill. Was fun. That was great.
Yeah, the chill time was cool.
So awesome. Yeah.
And you know what I saw after, speaking of fear, anxiety, doubt.
Yeah.
It's funny and I'm an observer of people. So when you're in a setting whereby you see others that are kind of like, have been through that for the day, I get to see what they go through as part of their wind down or things that are on their minds, post comp. It's kind of like funny, but then I got to see you a little bit as well.
Yeah.
You seemed really happy. I was so proud of you. So Kim won first place in her championship and second place in the scholarship.
Yes.
Both knocked out of the park. I think as I looked at the dance floor when you were competing, there were some good people. Yeah. And I think you and I talked about you would want to compete against some good talent because then it's a better measure of all the effort you went into preparing to get there. So I don't know about you, but I think that's regardless of where your placement's at, I would much rather know it's against a good, good
I'm
heats.
all about earning the win.
Remember, and we've interviewed some coaches and people that do. I mean, if you messed up in that moment, the judge might not have seen you in that exact moment. So you have to believe.
That's definitely what happened.
Yeah, but okay, so your timing might have been to your advantage, but nonetheless, you don't know that in any competition. It might be that split second. That's why they have multiple judges, right? So somewhere along the way, it evened itself out. And I want you to think about all the other things you did really well with the other dances. So even if you like had a split like second of something not working out with one of them, that might have like worked itself out, or you might have done a lot really, really well they may have already rated you halfway through the dance. And
so that's what I was thinking. I think a couple of things come in. I think that they know the ability or, and they know like I've done whatever that particular something very well in the past. So they know that it was just maybe a situation or a circumstance, even though that time I don't think so. But anyway, so there's that. There's also, you're right. Maybe I just lucked out, and in that split second, none of the judges was looking at me. Maybe they had judged me already on that particular dance because the beginning part of it was good. So there's that. there's this, okay, she messed up, but she was still better than the others. So there's that. I don't know. So you really never know because you're just getting, your placement, but I don't, if you know me well, you know that I don't actually go out there with the intention of competing against, the other dancers. I mean, ends up
bull crap.
Well, hold time out. I am a competitor. But
we all say
in
that.
Championship,
Kim. Wait, come on.
You didn't let me finish my thought. In championship and scholarship, I do. You do, because you are competing against these ladies in those. But regular rounds, it's like, I want to go out there and make sure that I'm doing the best I can do. But no, championship, scholarship, no.
So because in the individual heats, depending on the comp I go to, you can have callbacks in your individual heats. So I still look at it as an opportunity to get, oh, wow, there's going to be a quarterfinal in this one or a semifinal.
Yes, you're right about that too. So
guess what? That's why Giovanni, when he said you really did a good job and you got called back or whatever, I was in a big enough comp where he looked at that as being really positive for me, especially with a couple of the dances that I went out to practice, meaning to compete.
Yeah.
And he looked at it as that, okay, that's great. That's an indicator of something that you're doing really well. So even if I didn't do the scholarship or the championship rounds, I still had the opportunity to know that, okay, this is when I am ready to go do all of that. This should be an indicator that I may get back. And if they didn't choose me for one of the types of dances, then guess what? Now that means that's the one I'm probably going to have to work on.
Right.
So that's why I like to get back on the floor whenever I can. Remember I told you in the studio, my studio is doing practice rounds for upcoming competitions, but it was one, I got to tell you, this year doing that thing was one of my most favorite mental preparation things to get ready for comp. I friggin' loved it, and I can't make it for this one, but whenever Met Dance has a chance to put it on again, I will take advantage of it in a heartbeat.
So do you remember in the beginning of our conversation, and then we can wrap it up if you want, in the beginning of our conversation, you said to me, what do you do at the studio? You should be doing, performing exactly. We don't really, we will perform it, and then if I mess up, we'll straighten it. Couple of times we played competition music and did rounds, but
does he not play the 5 in a row? He doesn't put 5 in a row?
No, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes, but there's no one else on the dance floor but us.
Yeah. A few couples get on the dance floor and you don't know the music, you don't know the thing, and off you go, and you have to compete it like you would in a competition floor.
So are they with their instructors competing against?
Yes, they are.
And but they're not really being judged.
No, not being judged.
They're just going out there and performing.
Yeah.
As if that's
that to me,
happen.
That gave me a chance, and someone recorded that for me. It gave me a chance to say I had more adrenaline going in me during those practice rounds than I think I did at the actual competition.
Wow. Why do you suppose?
Because I hit the switch button and bang, babies. My performance is like, I'm
in the
here.
Studio, though.
In the studio. That was the first moment I had to go out and rev it up. Yeah. And to the point where it was rev too high. And so my instructor is like, okay, can you take it down a notch? This is wow. You're really revving high. And that's one thing we practice on, right? It's where's the nozzle or whatever on that. But I want to close this out with, did we cover the parts of that emotion you were carrying on the fear, anxiety, doubt? Did you go through all those 3 emotions?
Several times.
Okay. So walk me through 2 things on each as we wrap it up, that if you reflect back and say, all right, this is what I saw in myself and this is typical or this was new.
So fear, anxiety, and doubt is always typical. Mm-hmm. And I think it's typical for everyone in lots of situations. It's how we manage those things. Right. So the fear for me on several parts, fear of, like I said earlier, the eyes on me, even though no one cares, right? We know that no one really cares anyway, but it's kind of like getting back and having these coaches coaching, but then also judging, right? So I'm like, of course they're going to be looking because they're going to want to see how I'm executing their work. So there's fear that gets started there, and that fearfulness starts here. It always starts here, but it manifests in the body, right? You get those butterflies, right? And so that starts, and that creates the anxiety of, okay, now what am I going to do? What, so then the breathing heavy can start if you're not managing it. And then you begin to doubt yourself. Like you said before, maybe for you, it's, do I actually belong here when you see these other ladies? Or,
no, I'm good with I know I belong.
Or,
see, that's the part where that's why I was curious on why you were going there. Shit, I don't give a crap.
Yeah. Okay.
I belong. I belong. The anxiety in the middle is how am I controlling my rev?
Yes.
Right. The rev up, and the doubt is just maybe did I do enough? Did I sign up for enough? Do I have the package?
And mine is just, I'm doubting myself. Can I perform?
Yes,
Will I remember all the corrections? Will I remember all the things that, I have to do to execute? But I'll give you, there's multiple tips. I'll give you 3 top tips. This is what I did this time. Number 1, visualization, meditation. It's very simple to do. It's just a couple of deep breaths. But what you want to visualize is exactly how you see yourself on that dance floor in that competition, how you want to show up, right? Not the person that you don't want to be. You just, it could take 5 minutes and that's it. Because what happens is once the mind's eye sees it, it can't go backwards. So that's something that I feel like in this particular competition worked particularly well, because I visualized myself in that, confident bow,
which
irrespective.
Ooh, you did that beautifully.
Thank you. Irrespective of how I performed that dance. And that's part of even, Katerina did my hair and makeup, but she did a beautiful job. But we had time to have a little coaching session, and she coached me into shit. I don't care how you perform, you own it. In that bow, you get out there, you be confident and you own it. So
I'm going to put a link, because when we interviewed Katerina, that was one of the most standout things she said. And so I'll just remind everyone of the link of her original podcast. That would be good for you guys to listen to. Yeah.
So that helped. Yeah. That helped me a lot in my visualization. The other thing this time that we haven't done in the past, Arsen and I did a little practice the night before. And that helped a lot. It just helped to take down the anxiety, because I was traveling the week before. So we didn't have enough. I was feeling really uptight that we didn't have enough practice time. So and I'm so grateful for that.
That's fantastic.
And making sure you sleep, hydrate, rest, feed yourself. That's it. Those are the 3 top tips. Take some time to do some visualization, meditation. This one for me was doing some practice right before. That helped. And hydrating, resting, and eating the day of and the night before.
You kick ass when it comes to that stuff. Really.
Thank you. Thank you. So, and again, I appreciate you. I appreciate you being there. Love it. I think that too helped me a lot. You were there to help calm me down. And just be there for whatever. And
listen, I was so happy to be there. I know together we've traveled to a lot of concerts. To actually see that through with you was like a really important goal of mine. There's goals of competing, but to know that you're a friend and my podcast partner here is like, ahead from last year, especially the goals we set out that we wanted to accomplish. Yeah. I'm so ecstatic, because now when we talk through the podcast, we talk about then whatever's in our next steps. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So really good job, my friend.
Thank you.
All right.
You too.
All right. Peace out.